Time now for our rants and raves, starting with Dan.
I would like to rave about the new websites that the Boston Globe unveiled today, actually earlier this week, for the 4 professional sports teams in Boston. They're really attractive. They're heavy on big pictures. They gather every bit of information you want to know about your favorite team. A few weeks ago, when we were talking about the Globe's reinvention effort, because this was in the works anyway, this was not in response to that.
Was it your idea?
No, this was not my idea, no. But, I mean, one of the points I tried to make at the time is that the Globe needs to signal to its audience that digital is a better experience than print to kind of ease the transition into digital that is ongoing. And this is a way to do it. This may be a harbinger of what they're going to do with the rest of the paper.
I took a look at it too. You're right, the pictures were particularly
Yeah, they really
jumped
are.
out on the page.
I don't like sports, but that's a good idea. That's a great idea.
All right, Joanna.
So I have a 2-part rant.
Okay.
Yeah, it starts with a Northwestern University journalism professor who apparently had his grumpy pants on this week when a Huffington Post editor called him for a reference for an intern. He went on a little rant of his own about how young writers, young journalists can't write, and this woman on the phone sounded young herself, and she probably couldn't write. She was not pleased with that. She put out a multi-part tweet complaining about him and not naming him by name, but identifying him as a professor at this university. The pitchforks come out on Twitter. Who is this guy? He outed himself.
Yeah.
He apologized. She accepted. All's well that ends well, but I'm still a little uncomfortable with this habit that we all have of airing our grievances on Twitter, getting close to identifying someone. You're basically publishing something without giving the person a chance to respond. I feel like we need better rules of engagement on Twitter when we're airing our grievances.
Yeah.
Just one point, Northwestern, not Northeastern.
Northwestern, I said that.
No, I know. I just
See,
reinforcing
my
that.
response was, he probably isn't totally wrong, but the way he said it and saying it to an editor on the phone is like, oh, yeah. You know. All right, Kelly.
So I have a rave rant, I guess, or a rant rave. This week, there was a group of opinion writers that gathered together and were talking to the State Department, and the State Department official Ann Richard made the comment that the best journalism about the refugees and the crisis was actually coming from late night comedians, John Oliver most, and then Samantha Bee. Now you can take that 2 ways and say, well, who is she to say? Because that's a government place. But I gotta say, this is kind of sad that journalists aren't as sharp as they could be about making some clear delineations about what some of the issues are. And her point was there's a lot of muddling of what some of the issues are, and the late night comedians, in being funny, have clarified what seems like a very tough and sad story in many ways so people can grasp it. And she wished that there would be more of that, Now, of course, they're making jokes. We know that.
Well,
but,
and I'm going to be, my comments
Go
going
ahead,
to be a little,
Grumpy.
weaker just because I don't have specific examples
Yes.
of great journalism that's been done on that. But if you're making jokes, you can't point up the reality of a really tragic human situation in the same way that someone who,
Unless you're John
who goes
Oliver.
there.
He's pretty
Really?
daggone good.
Yeah.
Yes, he's very good.
Anytime I
Yeah.
hear a blanket statement like that,
Yeah.
the
Yes.
ordinary journalists aren't
There's
doing
been
good
some
coverage
really
of
good
whatever.
There have been plenty of good.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So
anyway,
Exactly,
that was
including
the
by
point,
the Boston Globe.
Yes.
All right, Adam.
I'd like to rant about Nate Silver of 538, formerly of the New York Times, no longer, offering a sort of a semi-apology that wasn't really an apology. It was more of a passive-aggressive dig at pundits, as he calls them. He says that he got Donald Trump wrong. And remember, going way back, he was saying Trump has a 2% chance of becoming the nominee. Trump has a 5% chance. He wrote this long piece explaining what happened, and his explanation was, well, I screwed up. I acted like a pundit. And these percentages that I was attaching to Trump's viability were not connected to any statistical model. Unlike pretty much everything else I do, it was based on subjective assessments with numbers tacked on. Now, for me, that's not acting like a pundit, because those of us who flap our gums about political matters, we don't attach numbers to things. That's being a lazy statistician who's faking rigor that you didn't apply. And he did not own his mistake, and he should have owned his mistake.
He's on his high horse.
Woo,
He's
Adam,
totally
clap
on his high
back.
horse.
All right.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
have a quick rave tonight for Marty Barron in the Washington Post. And I don't know if it was Marty's idea, but I thought it was brilliant. On the off season, right before summer camp starts training camp starts for football, he did this nationwide poll of Native Americans and how they felt about the term redskin. And I don't have all the statistics in front of me, but basically 9 out of 10 Native Americans said they personally would not be offended being called that, and something like 7 out of 10 said they had no problem with the team using it. So it was overwhelming. And I just thought the reporting on it and the messaging on it was really interesting. Of course, Dan Snyder, the owner of the Redskins, is thrilled with this news
sure he is.
because he has said all along he has no intention of changing the name
really
of
clever.
that team. All right, before we leave tonight, finally, we just would like to take note that longtime 60 Minutes correspondent Morley Safer died this week at the age of 84. He was, in fact, the last remaining person of the original team of 60 Minutes that included Mike Wallace, Harry Reasoner, Don Hewitt, of course. My dad came a few years later, so he wasn't on the very, very first broadcast, but he was a terrific reporter, and we will miss him. And thanks for watching our show. Tell us what you think. Email us, tweet us, or leave a comment. We're always on at beatthepress.org.